Welcome everyone to the midweek coffee talk with me and Jen Nichol. So glad that you are here today. And I'm just getting Jen connected. Wondering how your week's going. Feel free to drop in the comments. I was going to say in the chat. You can tell I've been on a lot of Zoom meetings. Let us know how your week's going. Hey,
Hi,
lady.
how are ya?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I love these earrings. I feel like I'm seeing them from a distance. Can you give us a little show and tell?
These are, yeah, it's a moon with a little clear quartz crystal.
Oh, cool.
I have a friend that makes earrings, culinary designs, and they're like those little clay things. And then I
Yeah.
a couple of times put in like a special request. Like these were ones that I
Mhm.
specifically wanted.
I love it. I feel like you're channeling our new moon energy, which you informed me of this morning that it is
Yeah.
new moon.
hmm
And like, I'm an astrology nerd, but I feel like you probably know more than I do. What's the deal with the new moon? Like, how do we feel it? How does it affect us? And then I'll tell physiologically how it affects us.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Well, the thing is, we are all going to feel energy differently. We
Mhm.
all come with our own lens of experiences through what we've had in our life leading up to it. So, um, but the basic idea is that a new moon is a new beginning, just like you
Mhm.
say, new.
Mhm.
Um, it's a blank canvas or a clear slate. So, what is it you want to write on the board to yourself?
Mhm.
And I like to think of it as, you get a little pot of soil and you now put the seed in. So, new moon is planting the seed in with hopes that it grows into, let's say, an apple tree. It's apple season.
Mm.
Yeah. And then you spend the next few weeks cultivating that, nurturing it,
Mhm.
helping it, nourishing it, developing it, and then seeing where it goes.
Mhm.
But this one, I think, is asking us, this one is bringing its own energy. And I was just dropping in to find out what it's saying and what it wants to. Do you want to hear what I
Yeah.
was
Oh, yeah. I'm
feeling?
totally like, because I have thoughts about it just because I know what's happening in my life. So I'm super curious when you like drop in with it, what you're sensing.
Well, it's in Libra, and Libra are like the symbol for Libra are those scales. So
Mhm.
I always think of balance, finding balance in our lives, which is what I love to say when I'm teaching a balance pose is to say, balance is a constant negotiation. And you
Mhm.
feel that as you're constantly. And the off the mat lesson with that is like finding balance in your life. You have to constantly negotiate with the give and take, the input and the output to
Mhm.
find that balance. So I feel like Libra brings that energy into this, but I don't know. This one to me feels more like the relationship of balance within ourselves. What
Mhm.
is it that we feel is lacking from our life and we want a little more of? And then what do we feel like we're overdoing and want a little less of? And at
Mhm.
the root of that is an act of self-love.
Mhm.
So that's how that feels to me.
Yeah, it's funny coming into this new moon, I've had a lot of uh boundary work to be doing.
Hmm.
And like clear communication and really working on my I statements, my I feel statements, right?
hmm
Um, because I tend to sometimes protect myself by living in the intellectual zone.
Yeah.
But I was reminded this weekend of just what an intuitive being I am. And caveat to you and anyone else, and I know you know this, like we're all intuitive beings, right? It's how much we exercise the muscle and allow for that message to come through. But I actually have had this kind of rebirth in a way of like, oh right, that is such a part of myself that I really do love and value, and I want it valued in all these other spaces of my life,
hmm
and just asserting that, right? Not in an aggressive way, but just like this is a part of who I am and this is how I show up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems to follow in line with this. But
Yeah.
again, like you can see how we both have these different interpretations with it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's
So
but similarly,
do you want to know the physiological part of it?
I absolutely do.
Okay, so I think this is so cool. So in order to understand new moon, we have to understand full moon. So full moon, it's not uncommon if you're someone who's ever struggled with like sleep around a full moon, which like for sure there's the energy part of that, but there also is like a literal physiological aspect of that, which is the night is brighter, right?
Hmm.
And with the light from the full moon, it actually changes a production of two things in your body. So one is a hormone, one's a neurotransmitter. So it influences melatonin production, which is our sleepy time hormone that actually we want kicking in with the sun setting, right? So you actually, melatonin, when people take just over the counter supplement and take it right before bed, that's actually not the best way to take it because your
Huh.
melatonin, you want it to really gently be increasing as you're kind of on the other side of the day, is the way I think of it. But in addition to
Hmm.
that, there's an inverse relationship with serotonin, one of our feel good neurotransmitters, right? It's something that a
Oh.
lot of antidepressants are trying to get us to kind of maintain more serotonin.
Hmm.
Serotonin, the vast majority of it is produced in your gut. So what happens is with the full moon, your melatonin production drops because of the exposure to the light. So that makes it a little harder to sleep. But at the same
Hmm.
time, serotonin production actually increases. And I
Oh.
like to say serotonin is the party drug for things that grow in your gut. Like
Oh.
they get serotonin and they're like, yeah, let's
Woohoo.
rage, let's reproduce, let's wreak some havoc. So I think of kind of the new moon as a little bit of the inverse. Like it's actually an opportunity to get some deep restorative sleep. So I think it's a good time to, if you've been struggling with sleep recently, to recommit to like a really good sleep routine because you may find that you're able to and sleep doesn't work like a bank account where you can like deposit, and then you get a couple crappy nights of sleep and it's okay because you average out to, maintaining a good balance.
Right.
It really is a day-to-day thing, but with the new moon is the opportunity, right, to slow down a little bit in your day-to-day
Hmm.
life so that you can try to reap the benefits of a little bit more sleep and a little bit more rest because hormonally and physiologically things are on your
On
side
your
in that
side for
way.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. You know that I've been doing a lot of reading and research on the cyclical nature of
Mhm.
the female body. Those of us who
Mhm.
are experiencing menstruation and going through a cycle and how it follows the moon.
Mhm.
And it speaks to that because it's common to feel so. I know you know this, but the new moon is carries the same energy as day one of your period, the day you begin bleeding. And that is a time for rest,
Mhm.
right? And rejuvenation and reflection and figuring out what does my body need right now. And so that supports that.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure people watching hear that. So you watching, um, if there's one thing to take away, cycle syncing has become really a fad thing that people are talking about in the wellness space. And I think it's
Hmm.
cool and great. And if it resonates with you, fantastic. But if you take just one thing away from that conversation that can get a little complicated, it is that when you are bleeding, it is a time for rest. It is a time
Yes.
for reflection. It is a time to slow down. And so I'm curious, Jen, if there's anything you do in your day-to-day life that you change when it is that time in your cycle, or maybe you haven't gotten that far, but I'm curious, anything you adjust when it's that time of the month?
Um, well, I have not had that time of a month for a very long stretch.
Yeah.
I'm in a perimenopausal state, so it's very intermittent.
Mhm.
And it's like a lot of people in female bodies that go through this cycle.
Yeah.
It changed month to month anyway. Like I could not predict it, and every decade was different.
Yeah.
But yeah, more rest, and it's on the back end of it now that I realize what should or what could have
Mhm.
helped me through that.
Mhm.
And society doesn't let us sit and rest. So we take the pill, we take the ibuprofen to get through the day and push through and deal with. And physiologically, our body is actually asking to rest.
Yeah.
And then, as that energy builds up toward the full moon, that's when you start to feel more power and more strength and more creativity. And so if you were able to follow that cycle, then I think we would probably feel better. Just
Yeah.
that alone, just that awareness though helps.
Totally. And I would say too, to you, something to offer, right? A perspective to offer is, and for anybody watching who is not currently menstruating, but possibly will again, or maybe is done menstruating, actually following the cycle of the moon is my recommendation. So if your cycle is spotty or unpredictable, or, a lot of my clients, when they're postpartum and breastfeeding, cycle doesn't show up for 9-10 months, something like that. But to follow the rhythm of the moon is actually really a gentle way to kind of get in tune with that. I think of it as just like that feminine energy and flow that even though you may not be cycling in that moment, you still have, right? In your body.
Yeah, you do. You still feel that. And I still feel, so one thing that was always consistent is that, like, coming off the other end of my cycle would be like bleeding. There's a couple of days of just kind of down and out, not really feeling well. My body's asking for rest. Probably didn't give it to it. Now, if I get it, I'm so excited because I know exactly what to do. I'm like, yes, I have my period. And now I know what to do. I'm going to relax and enjoy it. Yeah. But anyway, hindsight, right? But on the other end of it, I would get this burst of like, I want to organize, clean. And even my husband would pick up on it. He's like, oh my God, you must have your period because the cabinets are so organized right now.
I wish that happened to me. That is not how mine goes, but I would take any organizing instinct, no matter when it shows up for me. Yeah.
Funny.
Luna came to say hello since we're talking about the moon. Luna
she heard us discussing the moon.
Yep.
How sweet.
Yep. And one of my favorite things about Luna is actually something you picked up on. So those of you watching who maybe are getting to know Jen through me, Jen is an awesome, you call yourself an energy witch, right?
Well, I say movement witch.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Energy witch. We can call it whatever we want.
Yeah, energy movement witch. But anyways, Jen did a virtual Reiki session and she picked up on Luna's energy. You picked up on Luna's energy, and it was
funny that I see a cat here because I'm always wondering. I'm like, is there even a cat in her life?
No, there is. And I was never a cat person before Luna. She's just so special. And even, my sweetie will say, it's Luna, right? Like not every cat is this special. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyways, I asked you to pick a card for today because I was just feeling it. I was feeling into the woo today,
Yeah, you're feeling the new moon energy. Yeah. You're feeling it.
Yeah. So
yeah, it does give you that. It does give you that feeling. I also think of new moon as like the depths, like the cave or the depths of water where it's darker. But there's something beautiful under there that you maybe wouldn't see if you didn't explore it. So you're feeling that, and that's really nice. Yeah, you're in tune. It's what you're trying to bring into your life more, right?
That's right.
All right, so I'm gonna pull a card for us. This is how I do it. I pull from the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck by John Holland. To me, this is like the cartoon deck of tarot decks because it tells you what it is.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not a reader, but this one gives me the insight. And while I'm shuffling, I'll just say, I like using the cards to just give a new perspective or further insight into something, bring awareness to something. Not as like predict my future, like, will I become a rich king? Right. Not like that. I don't believe that's how it works. There might be other people that are able to use it in that way, but that's not how it works for me. So let's just see. Let's ask what the energy of this new moon has for all of us watching. Just gonna take a deep breath with it here. Okay. And then I'm like super casual about it. I just go like this, and then we've got one.
Oh,
Love begins.
oh, I like that.
This is from the emotional suit, and that's the green border. I've just learned this deck a little bit more. I love this card. I love when it comes up. To me, this card reminds us to begin a love story with ourselves, as we
Mm,
always need that reminder. And I feel like this just aligns with this new moon energy.
mm,
Yeah, I was listening to an astrologer that I like, Chani Nicholas, and she was talking about how Venus is involved in this one. Now I can't remember all the exact degrees and what's going on, but Venus is about love and abundance, and this is a very abundant feeling and looking picture. Like look
mhm.
at what we have together, and we're able to feed this flow of life.
Yeah.
So it's a very very balanced looking picture with the two hands. So I just feel like that aligns with what this energy is right now. And I don't know, I just have this deep feeling of like filling ourselves up from a place within us, not from seeking outside information. That's why in the beginning, when I was dropping in, what is it about this new moon? I was trying to release anything I read or heard about it and
Mm,
just see what is it to me, though? Because, in all things, and I know that this is what you teach your clients, what really, it, I can give you all the information, anyone can give you all the information, but what does it mean to you is the only thing that really counts.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. What that reminded me of is just like how that's showing up for me, where over the last couple of days, I've really recommitted to my meditation and journaling and mantra practice. Like,
Oh,
so much so that I even bought a special new journal for manifestation, which is like, I don't like, I'll buy stuff like that, but never use it. Like,
yeah.
that's my thing. And I'm just feeling so much ease with that.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
When you feel ease, does it, isn't that the sign that this is when it was meant to be? You weren't forcing it because you read somewhere like start a morning routine,
mm,
make sure you journal, and then you're like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then ease is, oh, I get to write in my journal today.
yes, totally. And I will say, like, I, I mean, I first learned about meditation when I was like in my late teenage years, and I was just so analytical at that moment for protection, I think,
Yeah,
that like I was just like, yeah, yeah, that's nice. And,
right.
and so it's taken me just years and years of like trying different versions and iterations and not putting pressure on myself to really, I think, feel the benefits of it.
Right.
But like, I'm so in this space right now where I'm just like so into all this stuff.
That's so nice. So
Yeah.
when you journal, what is it that do you start with a prompt or just an idea, or you just start free writing?
So this is my favorite thing to share with people
Yeah.
and clients too, because like, anybody going through healing or trying to heal something, like there's a lot going on in our heads and we need to get it out. You just need to get it out. And there's nothing like writing. And there are studies on this, which if that matters to you, great. If it doesn't, okay. But there are studies on actually like physically writing, right? Different than
Hmm.
typing, but physically writing and how that taps into a certain part of your brain and really does and can decrease things like anxious feelings, right?
Right.
So the thing that got me into journaling was the freedom to journal about whatever the heck I want to journal about. So yeah, I have prompts and occasionally I'll rely on one of those. I'm looking at right now, I'm doing a manifestation journal and that is
Oh,
prompted.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
gotcha. Okay, yeah.
so that does have prompts, but I still keep my other journal next to it. That's my like brain dump. And that's what it is for me. Like I remember when I was trying to get into the habit more, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I was just like, this is annoying. I know journaling is good for me, but I'm annoyed?
Yeah, right.
So I just kind of let it be whatever it needs to be. And then usually it's like I naturally gravitate towards, um, you know, trying to put affirming language into my journal, right? Of like,
Mm-hmm.
of first getting out, like, here's what's not good. Here's what I'm pissed off about. Here's what's not working. Here's what I'm frustrated with. But then
Mm-hmm.
I just naturally get to the point of being like, okay, what do I want to affirm? Right. And trying to shift that, not to like an overly sunny positive thing, but a believable progression, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
From just knowing that I don't want to live in that space and I don't want my mind to be trapped in that space. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what's one step away from that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like, you know, I was dating at the beginning of the pandemic, I was single. And so like, if it was like, men really suck right now, and I don't understand why, I'm drawing in all these men who have commitment issues or whatever it is, And so
Yeah.
instead, I would go to the place of like, there are good men out there,
Mm-hmm.
there are good men attracted to me. Things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like one step, not like my dream man is about to appear, like
Yeah.
not something like that. But I think that really helps me. And I'm curious for you, like when you journal, like what's it like?
Well, being frank and honest, I have not been journaling lately. Not at
Mhm.
all. It would be a brain dump, and it will sound like a fourth grader girl, like, "Hello, it's me, Jen again. Been a long time. Uh, thought I should write some things down,
Yeah, yeah,
and it starts like that, and then I'm just laughing at my corny self, you
yeah.
know. But there is one exercise, and I love what you're doing because it feels like a baby step, and I feel like we always, it must be human instinct to always go from I don't journal at all to I'm writing all of these things, right?
Yes.
Or I'm not running at all and I want to run. So now I'm running a marathon in 3 months. Like, we always go instead of like, okay, I'm going to start to just walk every day at the same
Mhm.
time for 5 minutes, or I'm going to just take and write a few things down and then give a tiny little shift in that. And you must feel a huge shift when you do that, a huge energetic shift in
Oh
your,
yeah. And I will say some days when I journal, and my journal it's not a huge journal, but also it's just a notebook, everyone. Like I don't have a fancy I used to buy the fancy ass journals and I never used them. So when I
yeah,
switched to just like, oh, here's a notebook that like a seventh grader needs, like it just that is
yeah,
my energy. And some days, I write a paragraph, right?
yeah,
And some days I write 3 pages.
yeah.
And so like I'm not attached to what that means or how long it needs to be. It's just does it feel complete? And like yes, it feels incredible. And I'll give also the little thing that I do. So when I journal, I also usually do a coffee enema,
Ooh.
which is a different flavor. Maybe not for everyone, and we can also talk about that too. That might be a good full moon thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it's like I have to sit there for 20 minutes. So
Okay. So you might as well
might as
write
well.
something down.
Yeah. It's like toxins coming out every way, right?
Right, right. You are flushing out toxins, you're
Yeah.
flushing out toxic thoughts and whatever
Yeah.
gets in the way of all of that.
Exactly. Well, and this it might just be me, but intuitively I think this is more than me. Like my mental flow is connected to my bowels. I think for all of us, if you're not digesting and moving things out through your bowels, your brain's not going to be able to fluidly move through thoughts and feelings and emotions. Like we need that flow mimics in our physiology, right? And so
Yep.
I just find like if I'm literally constipated, I am also creatively constipated, mentally constipated, all of that. And so an interesting thing to ask yourself if you ever get constipated or the next time you're constipated is, where's that being reflected?
Huh. That's a really interesting thought. Um, how physiologically the body is actually mimicking, or is it even mimicking, or just everything is mirrored, you
Yeah, I
know?
think it's yeah.
Yeah, because I had this theory that like if we have rigid thoughts, that our body is also rigid and stiff. If we
Mm.
have rigid thinking patterns,
Mhm.
and it's hard to see outside, and you can only do things one way, is it now harder to turn your head or reach your
Yeah,
toes? And I think so.
I
I
think
think
so
so. Now,
too.
I have not tested this theory. We haven't done the scientific method or any of that, but it seems right to me.
Yes, I totally agree. And with like the scientific method, I have such an interesting relationship with it where like at times in my life I really valued that and had careers that valued it. And I think like there's a time and the place. And also like sometimes we just know shit and that's okay too. Like
Yeah.
we don't need an empirical study if it's about you and your body and your experience. You don't need an empirical study to validate your experience. Your experience is valid.
Is a valid, yeah,
You
that
know?
makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny doing energy work like in Reiki is like what empirical study can we possibly do on that? I
Mm.
mean, you can probably take brain waves and heart rate and blood pressure and all of that, but there's some point where there's just a gap. There's a lot that we just do
Mhm.
not understand fully. And does that mean it doesn't exist? I
Right.
don't know. Does it exist for you when you experience it, like you just said? And
Mhm.
I 100% fully, constantly experience it. I'm in awe of it all the time. But it can't be tested. So there are some things in this life that we just have to
Mhm.
trust are happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Like the pull of the moon,
Right.
of this
Right.
full moon. It allows us to kind of drop in
Hmm.
as we've done today.
Yeah.
One thing that when you were talking about journaling that I wanted to share because I just feel like this is such an amazing practice. And in the act of shifting energy through written work, which
Mhm.
by the way, those studies, you're onto something there because I like as an OT in the school system, a lot of what we did was teach handwriting. And there's
Mm.
a lot of like, is handwriting going to go away? And I kept saying, I hope not,
I
because it's
hope not.
imperative to human function and learning,
Mhm.
not just to be able to do that, but to actually create a symbol for what you feel and think.
Totally. Yeah.
But that act alone is huge.
Hmm.
But this practice is to just start writing things that you love.
Oh.
So this is a practice that I do if I am in a tough state. I just
Mhm.
can't breathe my way out of it or move my way out of it. This is one of the things. And it start to make a list of things you love. And I think the best place to start is like ridiculous things that you love. Like I don't know. I love it. I love the first time I pee in the morning when I get out of bed. Or like something silly that makes you kind of laugh and you're like, "Oh my God, I do love that." Like
Yeah.
I love when I get out of the shower and I Q-tip my ears.
Yeah.
like
I love
something
that.
like that. And like, okay, there is love. And it doesn't need to be this big, deep thing. I love, like, oh, trust me, all the people in your life that you love, know you love them if you didn't write that down. This is not
Mhm.
about like getting it in order or anything like that. It's about shifting your energy. And as soon as you start thinking about the things you love, it focuses on what you have and what feels good to you. And it totally takes you from one state to another.
Yeah. Oh, pun intended, I love that. Like that is so, and I love the invitation to like be weird with it,
Be
to not,
weird.
right. That like you don't need to be like, I love my mom. Like, yes, you love your mom. Okay,
We
what
know
else?
that.
You know?
We know.
Like
Right.
I kind of
Right.
like that it can be like, oh, I love my whisk,
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Like I love peeling nail polish off.
yes,
Right. Weird ass shit.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I really like that. Also, I do like peeling nail polish and I wish I didn't.
Me too. The nail
Yeah.
beds, they're so upset. They do not love it. That's on
No.
their list of things they wish I would stop. But
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm feeling kind of complete. Is there anything
yeah,
else, with what we've chatted about any other little kernels you have for us today?
no kernels, but I did want to ask you what you're reading these days.
Yeah. Oh my
I've been
gosh.
curious.
Okay. So I'm going to show you. And this is funny because I got two copies accidentally. And so I'm feeling like someone is meant to have this other copy. So maybe, dear watcher, whoever's watching this, if you want a copy of this book, tell me why in the comment, and I will send
Ooh.
the other book to someone.
Ooh.
So it's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. Have you ever seen this book?
No.
Okay. So I was at this retreat this weekend with a bunch of women entrepreneurs, and it was supposed to be us working on our business and riffing off of each other. And it turned out to be just a like mostly us connecting with each other because we all have been missing human connection and like-minded interaction, and stayed up till 2:30 in the morning, which was just like wild the last time I did that willingly. I can't tell you. And it was a book that one of the people who I met was like, this changed my life. And someone else who was in the group, who's a mentor of mine, she was like, yeah, I liked it, but then it kind of went this direction and I didn't love it. And they had a really just lively conversation about it that honestly made me more interested to read it. It is very short. It is very short. It's under 100 pages.
I like that.
Yeah. So I'm about to start this like today.
Awesome.
So this is my like practical book that I'm reading, you know, to help draw in a little bit more of like kind of positivity and just, you know, working with energy. So somebody wants the other one, drop me a comment why you want it. I'll send it to you. And then I am reading the second book in a series. This is just a for fun reading. I am reading the second book in a series called, the book is called The Last Graduate. Deadly Magic, I think is what I'm going to look it up, but deadly something, a deadly magic or something is the first book. It is so good and so funny. It's like laugh out loud. It's about teenagers who live in a magical school. It is not Harry Potter. It is not that. And our lead kind of person in the book is she identifies as a girl, and so she's just very irreverent, and it's just like a fun, like, don't have to think about serious things because you're in this like magical world.
Right.
You know,
I like that.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about
That's
you?
nighttime reading. Well, I'm reading The Tao of Pooh.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had it on a shelf for a long time, and I'm like, and I need light bedtime reading because I spend, you know, I was reading, now I'm going to go blank on it, of course, as soon as I need to bring it up, but that book about trauma.
The
Body Keeps the Score. There we go. And it's so heavy. It's so heavy. And I was reading, and I'm like, I cannot read this before falling asleep.
Yeah.
So I picked up, and, you know, Pooh is so cute, and it's just Taoism told through Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
And it's adorable, and I really like it. And it's just this nice kind of meditative. It's perfect at bedtime.
I love
so
that.
those are my two. I've got an audiobook too. I always have many going. I'm like all over the place. And it's called A Man Called Uva.
Oh.
Funny grumpy old man.
Okay.
Meets happy family that kind of pulls him out of his grumpy old man state just a tiny little bit.
And have you read this book before, or is this your first time reading it?
First time reading it.
Okay.
I'm listening to it on Audible.
Okay, so when you're done with it, I want your full review.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love our connections.
I love it too. And holy crap, for 30 minutes going by so fast. Like I feel like we could go on and on and on, but
I know.
You know.
Totally.
We can't.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending time with me this morning.
Thanks, Marissa. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too.
See you next Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.